Blog Talk Radio.
Shalom, shalom. This is your brother Zadok. Give all praise to the mighty Yah. Hallelujah. Right. Today we'll be discussing the Circle 7 Koran of the Moorish Science Temple. The funny thing about all these different books that I've been over in this program is that it's inevitable, and brothers and sisters, it's inevitable for you to find a book is going to tell you to break the Almighty's laws. All of them will tell you to do the opposite of the Almighty's laws. So when you read it, and that's the problem with our people. Our people get stuck in these books that tell them to do contrary to the commandments. This holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, made by the supposedly noble prophet, Noble Drew Ali. It was exposed before and it was shown that this book is a plagiarization of the Aquarian Gospels of Christ. But this Christ in the Circle 7 is way different than the Christ in the New Testament. And he's a Muslim Christ. I'm going to just begin to go into this Circle 7 Quran in just chapter 2, verse 9. I'm going to read something that it says. That's crazy. It says, Elihu and Salome took Mary and Elizabeth out to the sacred grove nearby where they want to teach. Now, I want everybody to turn to Deuteronomy 16 and 21. It says, thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of Yah thy Elohim, which thou shalt make thee. So, in Christ's time, this is talking about Christ right here. He's talking all this crazy stuff. In Christ's time, there was already the All-Body's temple. So what are they going? What is this sacred grove that is mentioning right here? But we can continue because it's already breaking the commandments. Like I said, this book is crazy, packed full of lies, like all of them. Right here in verse 10 of the same chapter 2, Elihu said to Mary and Elizabeth, you may esteem yourself thrice blessed, for you are chosen mothers of the long-promised sons. Verse 11, who are ordained to lay a solid rock, a sure foundation stone on which the temple of the perfect man shall rest, a temple that shall never be destroyed. So right here they're talking about a temple of the perfect man. The problem with this is that the Almighty already has a temple of Yahweh. So what are they talking about, this temple of this perfect man? You see, they're just trying to talk about Christ. They're just trying to make a temple for him in this Circle 7 Quran. But I can continue. Verse 13 is especially BS. It says, an age has passed. The gate unto another age flies open at the age touch of time. This is the preparation age of soul, the kingdom of Emmanuel, of the deity in man. Now let me read this again, clarify this. It says the kingdom of, first it says the kingdom of Emmanuel. Now we know that Christ is not Emmanuel. That's one of those, that's talking about Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. They try to equate Christ with that. And them was some of my favorite Sabbaths where they would go over. It was not favorite, I would say some of those Sabbaths was very entertaining to see how, I mean, Isaiah 7, that's an easy lie to expose, that Christ is not Emmanuel. His name's not even Emmanuel. But to continue, and it says the deity in man. Now, A-L-L-A-H. I'm not going to say that name. I'm going to try to substitute it for dollar, like the American dollar. I might just say dollar in man. How about that? Okay. So I'm going to show you another BS that's in this book. You go to chapter 2, verse 21. Okay, chapter 2, verse 21 says, the only Savior of the world is love. And J, son of Mary, comes to manifest that love to man. Okay, there's so much wrong with this. There's so much wrong with this verse right here. Because, okay, let me read verse 20. Verse 20 of chapter 2, it says, that naught can make them one but love. But the deity so loved the world that he clothed his son in flesh that man can comprehend. Now, right here, you know what verse this is. I think everybody know this verse. John 3 and 16. He so loved the world that he gave his only begotten blah, blah, blah. Well, right here in the Circle 7 round, it's saying the same thing. But it said the deity so loved the world that he clothed his son in flesh that man can comprehend. I don't even need to go to that verse. I don't want to read the New Testament in that detestable verse anyway. Verse 21, it says, the only Savior of the world is love. Now, they say Christ is love. It said, and J, of course you know who that is, son of Mary, comes to manifest that love to man. Now, he told you to hate your family. Real quickly, I want to go to Luke 14. I just think it's necessary to read it. Luke 14, and where does it say to hate your family? In 25? Yes. And there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, even his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. You got to hate everybody. But right here in the circle 7, it says, the only Savior of the world is love. And J is not love, okay? We can go to Matthew 10 real quick. I'm gonna keep it moving with the circle 7. I just want to show how Christ is not love. And they're teaching this lie for a new Christ. They said Matthew 10 and 34 says, think not that I come to send peace on the earth. I've come not to send peace but a sword. Came and said a man at variance against his father. Now it said a man against his father. But in the book of Malachi, he's going to bring the fathers back to the children. So, Elijah is going to, correct what Christ is doing right here. All this division. But I'm just showing this to show that he's not love. I'm going to continue because I shouldn't have went that deep into it anyway. I'm going to continue with chapter 3, verse 21. Because I'm just reading. You see how I'm going from chapter 2 to chapter 3. I'm going to just continue like that. But we're going to see how much lies is in it. First, it's more right here. It talks about in chapter 3, verse 5. This is craziness. I'm going to get back to this. It said there are two selves, the higher and the lower self. The higher self is human spirit clothed with soul. It goes in the high. I'm not going to read all that stuff right here. But the crazy part is, at the end, Christ is going to say that his lower self is very strong within him. And I'm going to describe the lower self, but I'm going to go to 3 and 21 right now and get back to that. Only the devil from which man must be redeemed is self, the lower self. If man will find his devil, he must look within. His name is self. So we said the devil is in the lower self. Right here is letting you know the devil is in the lower self. Like I said, later on, I'm going to show you that Christ said the lower self is strong within him. But just to keep it moving, I'm going to go to chapter 3, verse, I'm going to go to 5 and 8. This right here is going to say, you know how Christ disrespected his mother. He disrespected his family, ran away for 3 days. His mother and father were hysterical. They come back. They say, Christ, why did you do this to us? Why did you do this? I've been sorrowing. I could imagine how my mama would feel. And then Christ is going to say, I got to be about my father's business. You know what I mean? And then basically, she didn't even know what he was talking about. The scriptures even say she was puzzled. You're like, why would you address me? Like, you don't talk. But right here, it's saying verse 5 and 8. Chapter 5, verse 8 says, and Mary said, why, why do you treat your parents thus? Lo, we have sought 2 days for you. We feared that some great harm would overtake you. So it's a totally different story. I don't want to go through the whole story, but the circle 7, I won't say totally different, but it's a lot of different details that are changed in this circle 7 Koran story of when Christ ran away. But yeah. But like I said, I can go to Luke 2. I'm going to go to Luke 2 and 41. And it says, Luke 2 and 41, now parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. And when they had fulfilled the days and they returned, the child tarried behind in Jerusalem. And Joseph and his mother knew not of it. They supposed him to have been in a company and went a day's journey. And they saw him among their kinsfolk and acquaintances. And when they found him not, they turned back to Jerusalem seeking him. And it came to pass after 3 days, they found him in the temple sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. Of course, you can know the story, but it was 3 days. Like I said, that's minor. We got 2 days there, 3 days there. I'm also show you how Christ called himself the day star in this book. And the funny part about that is I've done some research because there was a Hebrew Israelite brother that won a debate against this Egyptologist brother. But that same Hebrew Israelite brother, he put up an image, and the image was connected to the Kabbalah, and I found out it's an image of the tree of life, and it's a whole bunch of circles interconnected. And I looked at that, and then basically the book was explaining how a man named Aleister Crowley, supposed to be the wickedest man in the world, made tarot cards that are connected with that wickedness. So and he calls himself the Day Star. Aleister Crowley calls himself the Day Star. He said, so that was funny how Christ is calling himself the Day Star. But it's in chapter 6, verse 5. I'm gonna read it real quick. We call this Day Star from on high, for he has come to bring to man a light, the light of life, to lighten up the way of man and redeem his people Israel. Okay, so right here, I want to share something right here. It's calling Christ the son of the deity, the Son of God. Okay, verse 8. I'm gonna read this. Ravenna was entrance and asked to know the way to Nazareth, that he might go and honor such one as the Son of the deity, right? Son of the Allah. Now, what's funny about that is when you go in the Koran, because this book even contradicts the Koran. You go in the Koran, chapter 6. Chapter 6, verse 101, it says, wonderful originator of heavens and the earth. How could he have a son when he has no consort? And he created everything. And he is the knower of all things. How could he have a son? Right here, this is saying he does have a son. We got two different types of Muslims. These what do they call them? Circles. These more Science Temple brothers. They call themselves Muslims. They're not the Quran movement. They got this Circle 7 Quran that was given to him by this false prophet, telling them all this garbage that's not even orthodox. But let me keep it moving. Of course, I could have went to Quran 21 and 26. I got another. It's more scriptures that tell you that Christ is not the son of the deity. He does not have a begotten at all. Says that too. But I wanted to go here to chapter 8, verse 13 to show you what I found. There's a lot of different things in this book that's crazy that I shouldn't be skipping. Right here, I'm just going to read this. Of course, we're still in chapter 6. I said I wasn't going to skip this. I'm just going to read this and see what you think about it. It said, the Brahminic priests were glad to welcome home the prince with favor, and they received the Jewish boy. So they're talking about receiving Christ. It said, and Jay was accepted as a pupil in the temple Jagannath. I hope that ain't a false deity. And here he learned the Vedas and the Manic law. The Brahminic priests wondered at the clear conception of the child and often were amazed when he explained to them the meaning of the law. So he's learning these different laws, and he's in these different schools with these different priests. He's not with the priests of the Almighty. He's doing other laws, just like they got different laws in the Quran. But you guys can analyze that. Of course, this book talks about ethers, which is crazy. I mean, the thing about it is, I didn't even put it down to read it, but I'm going to read it anyway. It just sounds so crazy and retarded. You know this has nothing to do with the Almighty's book. Verse 16, it talks about ether change. Well, I'm going to say, verse 16 says, force is the will of the deity, and it's omnipotent. And power is that will and manifest directed by the breath. Let me see. I'm going to read about lower self again. Verse 19 of this same chapter 7. Again, Lamas asks of understanding, what have you to say? And Jay said, it is the rock in which man builds himself. It is the gnosis of the off and the naught, of falsehood and of truth. It is knowledge of the lower self, the sensing of the powers of man himself. So right here, of course, you see Christ talking about lower self, upper self, all this garbage. He's talking about the temple of the perfect man. He's doing laws, contrary laws. That's why he's talking about crazy stuff like ethers and all that. But let me show you what Christ said about faith. Because this Christ of the Quran, the Circle 7, is not the same Christ of the New Testament, nor is the deity, Allah, the deity of the Koran. It's contrary, but this is what this Christ said right here in chapter 7, verse 26. Let's see, where did I put that? Okay. And it said, Jay said, faith is the surety of the omnipotence of the deity and man, and certainty that man will reach deficit life. That's what faith is. But of course, all you Christians know about Hebrews chapter 11. I'm going to go there real quick. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So we got two different JCs right here. Maybe it was a JC. Maybe this was a JC when he was worshiping a false deity. You know, this is the JC that worships a false deity right here. This is a totally different one. Let me see if you guys agree. Right here, it says in chapter 8. Now this book is confusing. I'm just going to read verse 11. I'm just going to read through that, and then I'm going to go to verse 13, in which I'm going to make my point. But verse 11 is just confusing. It's just like this book is so retarded that I just want you guys to hear some of this stuff. And when man honors man, he honors the deity. And what man does for man, he does for the deity. Okay, let me keep. Verse 13 said, if you would serve the deity who speaks within the heart, just serve your near kin. And those who are no kin, the stranger at your gates, the foe who seeks you to do harm. So right here it says the deity speaks within your heart, in the heart. Now, you know, I can lightweight agree with that. You go to Jeremiah 17:9, I can agree with that. You know, that false deity. Let me read it. Verse 17:9. Let me read this real quick. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? It said the deity. It said that ALLAH speaks within the heart. All types of false deities, wickedness. I don't know. Let me stop. No, I'm gonna show you what Christ said himself, because Christ himself told him he wasn't God in this book. I respect that, so I'm gonna read that, and that's in chapter 8, verse 23. Verse 23. It says, and all the people were entranced and would have Jay a god. But Jay said, I am your brother, man. Just come to show the way to the deity, to Dala. You shall not worship man. Praise Dala, the Holy One. So right here, we're seeing that Christ is saying he's not God. And that's cool. You know, they don't have to believe that. Really, they don't. So that's a good thing. This is what Christ says. Even when because you understand, when Christ was living, the temple was still up. Even Paul did a sacrifice after Christ died. So the temple was still up. But this is what Christ is saying in the 8th chapter, the 17th verse. Christ said, our Father, Dala, ask not for needless waste of plant, of grain, and of dove, of lamb, in which you burn in any shrine and throw away. No blessing can attend to one who takes food from hungry mouths to be destroyed by fire. When you will offer the sacrifices of Dala, just take your gifts of grain or meat and lay it on the table of the poor. So he said, nah, listen, I know, Christ is living during the temple days, but he said, no, why would you burn something in fire and take away food from the poor? Why would you even make a sacrifice? This is what Christ is recorded to have said at that time. But it's certain things that you may agree that I don't agree. I'm going to read some of them and see what you think about it. It's in chapter 9, verse 11. And there's a lot more. In chapter 9, verse 11, these courtesans and thieves are children of my father, Dala. Their souls are just as precious in his sight as yours, or the Brahmic priest. So it doesn't talk about Levites at all, like Levite priests at all. It talks about these different priests, this deity is associated with. But let me see. It's go to read the next one right here. This right here is just blatantly false. But I'm gonna read chapter 9, verse 16, where it says, "The sin lies in the wish, in the desire, but not in the act." We read that again. The sin lies in the wish. in the desire, not in the act. So, is that true? You know what I'm saying? I think that's retarded, but, certain scriptures that may try to, validate it. The sin is just when you think about it, but no, not at all. But it's when you act on it, definitely. But that's beside the point. Right here, it's talking about it said the man who coveteth is a thief. I want you guys to draw your own conclusion. It said the man who coveteth is a thief. Now, can you covet without being a thief? I don't know. It's right here. This is just things, I don't know. Maybe I should have skipped this one. I say right here, verse 22, it says, the pure in heart do not accuse. The vile in heart who want to cover up their guilt with holy smoke of piety are ever loathing drunkards, thieves, and courtesans. So it said the pure heart don't accuse anybody. Okay? But let me keep it moving. Chapter 10. This is Christ again talking against sacrifices. Verse 9 of chapter 10, it said, now, men and birds and beasts and creeping things are deities made flesh. How dare you kill anything? It is cruelty that makes the world array. When men have learned, when they have harmed a living thing, they harm themselves. They surely will not kill nor cause anything that the deity has made to suffer pain. And then right here, verse 11, this is what Christ is saying. A lawyer said, I pray to Christ. JC. Ugh, that don't even sound good. The lawyer said, I pray to JC. Tell who is the deity you speak about. Where are his priests, his temples, and his shrines? And Christ said, the deity I speak about is everywhere. He cannot be compassed in walls or hedged about in bounds of any kind. So right here, Christ is saying that his deity doesn't have a temple. This is what he's saying right here. But so you know right here that Christ's deity is not the Almighty in this book. Christ's deity is this dollar. Right here in verse 18 it said, man names the part of the deity he sees. And this is to him an altar of dollar. And every nation sees a part of dollar, and every nation has a name for dollar. So right here, every nation has a different name, is what Christ is saying. Even though there's only one name, Christ is saying every nation has their own name, has a different name. The Brahmins call him Pyramid. Ooh, man. Let me stop. You reading this. This right here is dangerous reading this. But right here it says Jehovah is his Hebrew name. This is dangerous. He got all these false deities names. Now right here, this is what Christ is saying about the Almighty not needing a middleman. He said in verse 22 of chapter 10, when man sees Dala as one of him, as Father Dala, he needs no middleman, nor a priest to intercede. He goes straight up to him and says, my Father God, Dala. And then he lays his hand on Dala's hand and all his will. And this is Dala. You are, each one, a priest, just for yourselves, a sacrifice of blood. Dala doesn't want. Just give your life in sacrificial service to all of life, and Dala is pleased. And when Jay had thus said, he stood aside. The people were amazed and strove among themselves. So right here, Christ is going to be talking about universal law. He's going to be talking about evolution. He's not going to be talking about what the Almighty said in the first. He's going to be talking about evolution and universal law. We're protoplast. In chapter 11, verse 5, it said, by universal law, all things tend upwards to a state of perfectness. The protoplast evolved, becoming worm, then reptile, bird, and beast. Then at last it reached the form of man. Verse 7 says, the time will come when everything of life will be evolved to the state of perfect man. After man is perfect, he will evolve to the high forms of life. Now right here, this is very good because it shows that it's going to try to link itself with the New Testament. Right here, it's going to say in chapter 19 of the 11th chapter, let me see. Yeah. 19 and 11, From Dala's own record book, we read, the triune Dala breathed forth and stood 7 spirits before his face. And the Hebrews call these 7 spirits Elohim. So right here it's talking about the 7 spirits. Now, the book that talks about the 7 spirits is Revelations. Go to Revelations 5 and 6. Says, and he saith unto another place, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Wait, that is, I'm at Hebrews, still in Hebrews. Revelation 5 and 6, it says, and I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, in the midst of the elders stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 10 horns, 7 eyes, or 7 spirits of the deity of Elohim, sent forth to all the earth. That the 7 spirits of Elohim, right here is saying the same thing. 7 spirits of Elohim. But it's saying Elohim in the Circle 7 Quran. It's not saying God. But it also said these spirits of the triune deity move in the face of boundless space. 7 others were, and every other had its form of life. These forms of life were but the thought of the deity, clothed in the substance of their ether planes. And men call these ether planes planes of protoplasm, earth of plant and beast of man, of angel and of cherubim. Right here it's talking about ether planes, but one thing I want to definitely make for certain, we can go to Revelation chapter 1, verse 4. And John, the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace be unto you, peace from him which is, and which was, and which was to come, from the 7 spirits which were before his throne. So right here it's talking about the same 7 spirits that it's talking about right here in this Circle 7 Quran. But in the Circle 7 Quran, it's called the deity's own record book. So we see definitely that it's trying to link itself with Revelation, being the deity or ALLH's own record book. And also it says the same thing in the 36th verse of the 11th chapter of the Circle 7 Quran. The thoughts of the deity change not. The manifest of life on every plane unfolds to perfection of their kind. And as the thought of a deity never die, there is not death of any being in the 7 ethers and 7 spirits of the triune deity. So 7 ethers and 7 spirits of the triune deity. That's definitely this is a show to break down this book for those who want to do that. You know, many people, we talk about the fishers and hunters. They say a lot of people say, oh man, I can never go into these false books and read this garbage. I don't see how you do it. I don't see how you get into, you know, and then you want to, and the funny thing is I'm a people's person. When it comes to consciousness and, you know, engaging brothers and sisters, I can do that easily. And, you know, like I said, I have different conversations. When you talk about somebody being a fishers and hunters for our people, that's just something natural for me. And it basically, and not just necessarily natural, it's just natural for me to be along with my people and engage our people and talk about conscious issues with brothers. You know what I'm saying? And engage them on an intellectual level, whether it be even I got even Christian brothers I'm in contact with right now, because I would just see a brother, you know, elaborate with a Bible. You know, the brother got something on his mind. So you say, well, you know, you want to engage your brother, say how you do, you know, what you think about, you know what I'm saying? And then once you see it, other brothers see 2 people engaging, and I get other brothers coming through. It happens every time, you know what I'm saying, when I deal with it. Because, and you want to know about everything. You got different brothers. You got brothers from Egyptology come up. You don't even know what you're going to get. You definitely got some Muslims, always Muslims around. They want to, you know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to know how to engage your brothers and sisters, you know, and to be a brother that said, oh, well, I'm not going to learn nothing about Islam. I ain't going to learn nothing about Egyptology. But when I engage in Egyptology, I'm going to hit them with what I got. I'm not going to. I don't care what they got. And, you know, and if they don't want to talk about what I want to talk about, they can go about their business. That's basically how people feel, because they don't have any way to engage the people. They don't want, and they don't care for it. You know, some people don't have it in them to really go fish and hunt for their people, to really go out there and, you know what I'm saying, engage the people and show love to the people and let them know, yeah, brother, you know, I understand, you know, but the laws and commandments are, you know, the Almighty's laws is what it is. I know what you're doing. I see what you're doing. You know, I see that you into the Noble Drew Ali. I see that you into, Christianity. I see that, brother. But you see, this is going to make you go against the laws. This right here is going to make you break the Almighty's commandments. This right here is breaking the commandments. That's the reason we in captivity, brother. You know what I'm saying? Because the Koran says you're supposed to eat camels. So that's why we in captivity, because it's going to have you breaking the Almighty's laws. But how can you engage it, brother? And tell them, listen, that lifestyle is going to break the Almighty's laws, and you don't know nothing about it at all. You don't know how to engage the brother. And you can tell him, yeah, this is the laws and commandments. But that's beside the point. Seven spirits of the triune God. Right here, Christ is going to tell you that heaven is a state of mind. Chapter 12, verse 8. Says right here, toil not to make a person sad. Man should be happiest when they toil. When hope and love are back of toil, then all life is filled with joy and peace. And this heaven, you know that such a heaven is for you. And the man replied, of heaven we have heard, but when it is so far away, we must live in many lives before we reach that place. So right here, you know, he's promoting heaven right now. But check out what he say. Check out what Christ said about after he said promoting heaven. Now cease to seek from heaven in the sky. Just open up the windows of your hearts, and like a flood of light, a heaven will come and bring boundless joy. Then toil will be no cruel task. So right here, he's basically letting you know heaven is a state of mind. He said, and Christ said, my brother man, your thoughts are wrong. Your heaven is not far away. It is not a place of metes and bounds, not a country to be reached. It is a state of mind. So Christ is saying it's a state of mind. And I remember my grandmother's favorite verse, and it's in John 14:2. You can ask my mama. She used to love to go here. 14:2. And it says, in my Father's house are many mansions, and if it were not so, I would have told you. I will go prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto you myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. So right here, that's those many mansions that my grandma thought she was going to in the sky. You know, Christ right here is telling you it's a state of mind. But in chapter 13, verse 7, we have talked with him in the messenger of love and the covenant of peace on earth and will of good man. So right here it's saying Christ is a messenger of love. I think we went over that he's a messenger of hate. So you hate your father, and then he displayed hating your family. He hates his family. He tell you to leave your family. He is not the messenger of love. I think we covered that. Verse 8 of chapter 13 says, through him shall all nations of the earth be blessed. Through him, Emmanuel. So right here is calling Christ Emmanuel again. Chapter 13, verse 8. That's a blatant lie. That's in the Circle 7 Quran. Of course, Christ is not Emmanuel. JC is not Emmanuel. Okay. Okay, this is Christ taking the vow of a brotherhood. This right here is wickedness because this is not the Almighty's law. Let's read this. And Christ said, in every way of life I will walk, in every hall of learning I will sit. The heights that any man have gained, these will I gain. When any man have suffered, I will meet, that I may know the griefs and disappointments and sore temptations of my brother man, and I may know just how to secure those in need. I pray you, brothers, let me go into dismal crypts, and I will pass the hardest of your test. The master said, take then the vow of the secret brotherhood. And Jay took the vow of the secret brotherhood. So now Christ is taking a vow. Y'all didn't know about this type of Christ, but Christ is taking a vow of the brotherhood in the Circle 7 Quran. Right here, he said he want to go through he want to go through all bad things. He want to go through all temptations, sore temptations. He want to do all that. They said only thing you have to do is take the vow. I don't know that's not in the law. I have not read the vow of secret brotherhood, but that's what Christ is doing. And you're doing it with priests from different, Let me keep it moving, though. This is a funny one. Right here, this is what he said. This is what Christ, the false deity, in verse 3 of chapter 15. Now, all these chapters are in Roman numerals. I mean, we know the Rome is the enemy. And with himself he said, my lower self is strong, but many times I am bound down to carnal life. So right here, Christ is saying that his lower self is strong, and he's bound to carnal life. So this Christ right here is like really human. He's very human. This is a very human Christ here. This is not what the Christians like to call Christ, that he was perfect and he didn't do anything wrong. No, this is not that same Christ. This Christ has his lower self, and his lower self was the devil, like I read earlier. But, Christ knows what he is. Yeah, man, Christ knows he's the devil. All right. Yeah. This right here, it's just details I don't think I should leave out. So that's why I'm going to let you guys know that. This is some crazy stuff. But it says in verse 1, the superstitious people are the Jews. They have a faith that they have borrowed from idol worshippers of other lands, that at the end of every year they may heap upon all their sins upon the head of some man set apart to bear their sins. The man becomes a scapegoat for the multitudes, and they believe that when they drive him forth into the wild or into the foreign land, they are released from sins. So every spring before the feast, they choose a prisoner from the prisons of the land and buy a form for their own, and frame would make them bear their sins away. Now, this is funny because this is a blatant lie, even for the fake imposter Jew, the ones that call themselves Jews. This is a lie. I'm definitely not going to call myself no Jew, because then you have to be associated with the Talmud and the Kabbalah and its witchcraft and wickedness. But it said the superstitious people are the Jews, and the Jews every year get a prisoner and and sacrifice him. Of course they don't do that. They don't. Come on, man. Sacrifice a man every year. I guess they're trying to justify Christ getting sacrificed as a man. So they put this garbage in here. But here goes some more in chapter 16 and 22. It talks about Isaiah. It quotes Isaiah 53 in here. And we know that's not Christ, but it's going to try to say it's Christ. Chapter 16 and 22. One man, a man of the deity, stood forth and said, Isaiah said, he shall be bruised for our transgression, and by his stripes we shall be healed. Wow. But of course, I don't have to go to Isaiah because I don't have that much time. But I probably do. Yeah, I'll have much time. I only got 45 minutes, really, but I got a lot more, so. But I don't have to go to Isaiah 53 and show you that that's not Christ. I mean, it's easy to show it's not Christ. I can do that for another time, definitely. Verse 27. But it cannot be this Christ of this Circle 7 Koran. This Christ is the Circle 7 Koran doing all types of crazy stuff. Okay, so the Circle 7 Koran Christ is too weak. Let me see. I'm going to read verse 27 of 16. It said, a man named Simon from Cyrene, a friend of Christ, was near the scene, and since he bruised and wounded Christ, could not bear his cross. They laid it on the shoulders of this man and made him bear it to Calvary. So I guess Simeon or Simon bared the cross to Calvary. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, because I don't care about Christ that much to know who did anything for him. But verse 17, so 17 and 18, it says, now Claudius, his wife, was on Tiber in a little boat. A storm swept from the sea, and the boat was wrecked, and Claudius, his wife, was sinking down to death. And Jay came and took them by the hands and said, Claudius and Juliet, arise and walk with me upon the waves. And they arose and walked with him upon the waves, and 1,000 people saw 3 walk on waves, and saw them reach the land, and they were amazed. So right here, you know how Christ walked on water? Well, in the Circle 7 Quran, it was 3 people walking on the water. And not only that, but it was waves. So I don't know, maybe they was like, caught off balance a little bit on the waves or whatever, but they was walking on it. Okay? Now, we'll read some more of this Christ, the Circle 7 Quran. This is 17th chapter, the 25th verse. Make sure I got the right stuff. Okay, 25th verse. So Christ will lift the sons and daughters of the human race, yea, every one of them from darkness and from graves, from carnal light to light and everlasting life. So J is for the whole, he is for the whole human race. Right here, and they will point the way to teach the gospel of the holy breath and the resurrection of the dead. Now, you know how detestable that sounds. The gospel of the holy breath, wow, that's not teaching the law. It don't say teach the commandments. No, it says teach the gospel of the holy breath and the resurrection of the dead. Now, I don't know, maybe some people, maybe I don't have to go and explain stuff like this to some people. Some people just say that's automatically, this sounds like evil and wickedness. But to some people, like, maybe we're supposed to keep the speech. Maybe if you don't know anything. That's what you got to tell our brothers, it's the commandments that got us in trouble. Not the, for us not keeping the laws, not to teach the gospel of the holy breath. And then right here in verse 13, I'm going to say verse 30. The priests of Helippus were in the temple and met and celebrate the resurrection of their brother Nazarite. They knew that he had risen from the dead. So he's their brother Nazarite. And hear what he said. And when Christ stood upon the sacred petals, the master stood, this is verse 33, and said, all hail, the great bells of the temple rang, and all the temple was ablaze with light. And Jay said, all honor to the master of the temple of the sun. Ugh, that don't even sound good. I don't even sound good coming out my mouth. All honor to the master of the temple of the sun. What? But that's what Christ said. And this is what Christ is recorded to have said in the Circle 7 Quran. So, what's the temple of the sun anyway? Is that somewhere in Egypt? This is an abomination. You can read Deuteronomy 15. We don't know no sun, no moon, no graven images at all. But they got Christ talking about honor to the temple of the sun. Yes. And I continue. Now, you know that's evil. But we got brothers and sisters out of tens of thousands, even more, that's in that Moorish Science Temple of America with them feds on, representing. And I ain't mad at the brothers. I'm not mad at y'all. Look, if you check out the archives, I didn't went in on all types of stuff, so I ain't mad at y'all. Mormons, I'm not mad at y'all. It's just this book is just detestable. How you going to have Christ talking, honoring the temple of the sun, taking sacred brotherhood oaths, and learning the laws of different people? It's detestable. Okay, in the 18th chapter, it's going to talk about how Christ's death was a sacrifice for man. Just like they said, the Jews said Christ's death was a sacrifice for man. Verse 20. The masters of all times and climes he met, and in great assemblies he stood forth and told the story of his life on earth and his death and sacrifice for man. Wow. Yeah. Christ didn't do anything, man. Well, let me keep reading, though, man. That's abominable anyway, because he just said, Christ said earlier, that there is no sacrifice. You can't sacrifice for man. He said it earlier in this book. I'm going to go back. I should go back. When he was talking all that stuff against making sacrifices in the temple and everything. Let me keep reading, though. I gave unto them the key of life, of death, and of the resurrection of the dead. Ooh, that's what Christ gives. Okay. Now, right here in verse 24, and when she, the holy breath, shall fill the earth and air with holy breath and open up the way of man to perfectness and endless life. So right here, earlier we heard that detestable, that to teach them the gospel of the holy breath. Now, nobody cares about that. That's wickedness. But it goes and elaborates on this holy breath right here. So I guess there's a whole doctrine behind this wickedness. But let me tell you what happened. When Christ died for 3 days and he was in the heart of the earth. Let me read what happened to you in this version of the Circle 7 Quran. The Garden of Solomon was silent on the Sabbath day. The Jewish soldiers watched and no one approached the tomb. But on the following night, the scene was changed. At midnight, every Jewish soldier heard a voice which said, Adon Mishi Kami, which means, Lord J, rise. And they supposed again that the friends of J were alert and were coming up to take the body of their Lord away. Okay. And the soldiers were alert with swords, unsheathed and drawn. And when they heard the words again, it seemed as though the voice was everywhere. And they saw no man. So they talk about, the tomb of Christ, and they got people guarding, and the soldiers blanched with fear and still to flee. This is how it reads, though. I know you guys think I'm reading it like this. This is how this book reads. The soldiers blanched with fear and still to flee meant death for cowardice. And so they stood and watched. That's how it reads. Again, all this was before the sun arose. The heavens blazed with light. A distant thunder seemed to herald forth the coming storm. And then the earth began to quake in the rays of light, and they saw a form descending from heaven. They saw, behold, an angel comes. Okay, so right here, the Circle 7 Quran is taking the position of the book of Matthew. Okay? I'm saying this because that's the only book where the angel came. Remember, the 4 resurrection stories are totally different. The book of Matthew was the angel. In the book of Mark, it was a little boy. In the book of Luke, it was 2 men in shining garments. In the book of John, it was 2 angels. So they all got 2. And the thing about it is, whenever it's 2 angels, they always inside the tomb or something. Like you got to be inside. I think the 2 men in shining garments were inside the tomb, and the boy was inside the tomb. But the angel were outside the tomb. The angel rolled back the stone. Let me keep reading in here, though. So this is choosing the Matthew version. And then they heard again, Adon Mishi Kami. And then the white robe form tramped on the Roman seal, and then he tore the shreds and took the mighty stone in his hand and threw the pebble in the brook and cast it to the side. And Jay opened his eyes and said, all hail the rising sun, the coming of the day of righteousness. Wow. He said, all hail the, okay. This right here just sounds like idol worship I'm reading. All hail the coming sun, the sun, all rising sun. What? I mean, I guess that's the way he do it. I'm going to read verse 39. It says, they saw the body of the Nazarene transmutate. They transmute. They saw it change from mortal to immortal form, and then it disappeared. So that's what happened with Christ. He transmutated away. That's what happened in the Circle 7 Quran. Okay? That's how he got away. You say, well, where did Christ go? He transmutated. That's what he did. I'm going to be taking callers in 5 minutes. I'll be taking callers in 5 minutes. So if you want to press 1, comment on anything, just press 1. You know what I mean? If you don't want to comment on anything, that's what's up. Chapter 19, verse 8. A halo rested on his head, and light, unlike the light of the sun, filled all the room. So right here, Christ is having a halo on his head. He has a halo on his head. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to say this is where it came from, because I know it didn't. This is what he has on his head. Verse 23, and Jay came and sat with them. This is verse 23 of chapter 19. A crown of light was on his head. And when the silence ended, Casper said, a master from the royal council of the silent brotherhood is here. let us give praise. Ooh. And all the priests and masters stood and said, all hail. What message from the royal council do you bring? So this is talking about Christ. Now, this is detestable. He's right here. Christ has a crown of light on his head. Now, I guess the top of his head is lighting up. And then he said, a master from the royal council of the silent brotherhood. So when they're addressing who Christ is, they say he is a master from the royal council of the silent brotherhood. So that's what he is. He's a silent brotherhood. He's not, the house of Israel. He's not an Israelite, nothing. He's not the Messiah. He is of the silent brotherhood. And all priests and masters stood and said, oh, here, I wonder how they're going to try to link the silent brotherhood to something righteous. All priests and masters stood and said, oh, hell, what message from the royal council do you bring? And Jay said, my brothers of the silent brotherhood. Jay is Christ here. Jay said, my brothers from the silent brotherhood, peace on earth, goodwill to man. The problem of the age has been solved. A son of man has risen from the dead, has shown what human flesh can be transformed into the flesh divine. Before the eyes of man, this flesh in which I come to you was changed with speed of light from human flesh, and so I am the message that I bring to you. This is how it reads, y'all. I know it may sound kind of crazy sometimes. This is the word that he used. To you I come, the first of all the race to be transmutated to the image of the deity. So he was transmuted to the image of the deity. Okay? So with the speed of light and all this, so he said the speed of light. This stuff is just retarded, man. He transmutated in the degree of life. And like I said, I have nothing against no brothers from the Moore Science Temple. In Cleveland, they used to have this place they used to buy fish from. The brother owned it from the Moore Science Temple. I actually, I texted him, let him know about the show, but I know he don't want to hear it. He told me all types of crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but I had, you know what I'm saying, dude gave me his number. I was supposed to go, what's up with the Moore Science Temple and everything like that. So he was like the owner of the shop, you know what I'm saying? But we just got into a conversation because he was talking about that. So I asked him about it, you know what I'm saying? Because when they talk, they little knowledge stuff, you know what I'm saying? Want to see what type of knowledge they're going to bring to the table. So I started talking to the brother, you know what I'm saying? He was the owner of the shop or whatever. I ain't got nothing, you know what I'm saying, against the brother. He was saying all types of crazy stuff, though. He was like, Independence Day, because we was here before the white people. So Independence Day was them getting their independence from us because we had them in captivity and stuff, and we had them locked up. And that's their independence against us. I'm like, okay, But like I said, I got nothing against the brother. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to read their book and beat it up. I mean, because it's falsehood. There's no mercy on none of these lies, man, at all. John the Baptist, okay, it said the gent of John the Baptist. John taught by the Egyptian sage the meaning of baptism and how to baptize himself. And after he was baptized, he was taken at the age of 12 years into Africa, the land of Egypt. And there he remained in the Egyptian schools 18 years. And there he learned his duty as the forerunner of Jah. Right here, this is John the Baptist. He went into Egypt when he was 12. So right here, you can use this to say John was a man of color, I guess. And you got 30 seconds, and we could press 1 if you want to. The numbers 347-677-0647. So you can hit up right here. It's talking about the whiteness of her bosom. The whiteness of her bosom. Now, let me read this. We'll start at verse 6 of chapter 20. It says, but when virtue and modesty enlighten her charms, the luster of a beautiful woman is brighter than the stars of heaven, and the influence of her power it is in vain to resist. The whiteness of her bosom transcended the lily. Her smile is more delicious than a garden of roses. So I guess the whiteness of her bosom is like a lily, like as white as a lily. So that may be the bosom you want. Nobody wants a Gentile bosom. But no, that's a little inappropriate. Let me keep moving. 22 and 9. I don't think let me read something that's a blatant lie. This right here, this is a controversial lie. This is something I think that's a lie, but I don't think everybody else would think. So let me go to one that's a blatant lie. This is 22, and it says, teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. So right here, this is another religion. You know, of course, the house of Israel is not a religion. This is who we are. We have to do these laws. That's why we have to get our people out this madness. It's not about a religion. See, you got the true definition of religion. You can understand that anybody can join it. That's how you know Judaism is a religion, because we got Mexican Jews. I hate when we got Roman Jews. We got Greek Jews. And the Greeks and the Romans, the third and fourth beasts, are just the obvious enemy of the Almighty's people. But we got these types. So we know that it's a religion. Anybody can join this. Right here it said, teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. So this is what Christ is saying. This is an abominable thing that Christ is saying. In chapter 24, he says a whole bunch of abominable things in this book. This book is an abomination for real. But I had to go through at least one time, show the lies and deceit in it. I got brothers in the Moorish Science Temple. And like I said, ain't no hatred, man. It's just this book is lies. Right here it said, the piety of a child is sweeter than the incense of Persia's offering to the sun. Yea, more delicious than odors wave from a field of Arabian spices of the western glades. So, right here, it's basically saying, 24 and 3, that the incense of the Persians offering to, so Persians making an offering to the sun. They're making an offering to a false deity. You worshiping the sun. And Christ is saying it is sweeter than that. It's sweet because I know Christ may love to smell that the incense of the false deity. You see, he was saying all hail to the sun earlier in this book, talking about the sun. So he's saying it's sweeter than the Persians offering to the sun. But let me keep it going. Okay, now let me see. It's some good stuff, but I don't know. As I said, I don't know if you guys will agree with it or not, but I'm going to read it anyway. I'll be skipping over. I'll skip over some things. But this is chapter 32, and like I said, it's in Roman numerals, the fourth beast numerals. For evil he returneth not evil. He hateth not even his enemies, but requitteth their injustice with a friendly admonition. Right here we're saying he don't even hate his enemies. He don't hate his enemies. So that's what it teaches in Circle 7 as well. But that's, like I said, that's neither here. You can agree or you can disagree with that one. Okay, this is Christ clarifying his relationship with the Son. Right here. The Son is not the deity. The Son, right here in chapter 35 and 2, it says the Son is not Dala. Though it's the noblest image, he enlighteneth the world with his brightness. His warmth giveth light to the products of the earth. Admire him as a creature, the instrument of Dala, but worship him not. So he's calling Son a him. That's one thing I have to put in consideration. And he's saying, well, the Son is not the deity, but he's the most noblest of creatures. Now, this is Christ speaking. This is crazy. Okay. Keep it moving. I'm going to read this real quick. Vaunt not thy body because it is first formed, nor of thy brain because therein the soul resideth. Is not the master of the house more honorable than its walls? So right here it says, the soul resides in the brain. Let me see. That's beside the point. I can keep it moving. Like I see a lot of different things. some good things in here too. It's some nice little things. I think we call it cheese on a trap. It says tell you do some little nice stuff in the back of the book. I had to skip a whole bunch of pages because it was just a whole bunch of rhetoric. It's basically just like how Christian ministers do it. A good motivational speaking. So I can see a little bit of stuff in it. Suspect not evil in anyone until thou seest it. When thou seest it, forget it not. Whoso have been an enemy cannot be a friend. For man mendeth not his faults. So whether you agree with that or not, it said, whoso have been an enemy cannot be a friend. So you have to basically say you got to hold a grudge. You cannot never be a friend. For man mendeth not his faults. Okay. Now we know that's false. Man does not mend his faults. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a short break and we'll be back in a little bit.
And this
No, that's my cut though. That's my cut though, man. So I had the riff where I was like with dancing, But this last half of this hour show usually is for if a caller wants to call in. I'm gonna go through the different things that I've addressed in this show. Then I will be talking about things that I'll be addressing in the near future, or all different types of things. There's a whole bunch of different false doctrines that need to be addressed. A lot of them. But we got the sacred grove. That's wickedness. We got the temple of a perfect man, calling Christ Emmanuel in his book. Quoting in the Circle 7 Koran that God so loved the world. And Christ is the son of love, son in love. Christ is not love at all. Christ talking about the higher and the lower self. And then later on in the book saying that his lower self is strong within him. After showing that his lower self is the devil. Well, Christ lets you know that he's not the perfect one in this book. 2 days he ran away from his mother for 2 days in this book. In the New Testament it was for 3 days. Of course, there's other little minor details. JC was called the Day Star again, the same thing that the king of Babylon, that fought Lucier, or Fer, whatever, the son of the morning. You guys know what I'm talking about. Well, Aleister Crowley called himself the Day Star too, and Christ called himself the Day Star. It is what it is. And then it's calling Christ the deity's son in this book, but the Quran says that he does not have a son. In fact, let me go to Surah 21. And they say, the Beneficent has taken to himself a son. Glory be to him. Nay, they are honored servants. They speak not before he speaks. According to his commandments, they act. He knows what is before them and what is behind them. They intercede not except for him, whom he approves. And for fear of him, they tremble. So he said, nah, he does not have a son, according to the Quran. But, of course, it's different. We always talk about this temple of a perfect man because it's basically trying to make a temple for a Christ. You got Christ learning a different law, telling you not to give no more sacrifices, even though Paul did sacrifices. After Christ died, what we got in chapter 8 and 17, give no more sacrifices. Saying, where the sin is a desire, but not the act of doing it, but it's just a desire. Then when Christ was asked about a temple for his God, he said there's no temple for ALLAH. Even though the Almighty's temple was standing at the time he was living. He's saying there's no temple for his deity. This little wicked book. But it is what it is. I mean, our people, and it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad because there's so much garbage in this book. I think I proved that without a shadow of a doubt. It's just a tremendous amount of garbage in this book. But I guess it was given out so long ago, our people got into it. And it is what it is. It's sad. It don't kill. It said it's wrong to kill anything. This is what Christ. I'm going to read that again. In fact, I'm going to read the book of Ezekiel 45 and 22. Now, I love this verse because there was this Messianic Israelites from the ISUPK camp. He was on Sal Showtime blog talk, and he was talking, and I gave him one question. He did not answer it. And I read this verse in Ezekiel 45:22. It said, upon that day shall the prince prepare for himself and for the people of the land a bullock for a sin offering. 7 days of the feast he shall prepare a burnt offering to Yah, 7 bullocks, 7 rams without blemish daily, in 7 days, and a kid of goats daily for a sin offering. He shall prepare the meat offering, an ephah for a bullock, and an ephah for a ram, and a hin of oil for an ephah. And on the 7th month and the 15th day of the month, shall he do like in the feast of the 7 days, according to the sin offering, according to the burnt offering, according to the meat offering, according to the oil. Right here, he's going to be doing sin offerings. But the 22 is the killer part, because it said, upon that day shall the prince prepare for himself and for all the people of the land a bullock for a sin offering. So the prince or the Messiah will be doing himself sin offerings. So I asked that Messianic, I was like, well, you know, what is Christ's offering? I mean, how important is it if we're going to be doing sin offerings and trespass offerings in the future? Why is, and if whoever is Messiah, I say it's King David, but you say it's Christ, why is Christ doing a sin offering in the future? And what does that mean about his supposed death offering? What does that mean about that? Could you please explain that? And I want to see one of them, because, you know, they good at flipping and scripting, but he was not ready for that one. Okay? So I hope he get ready for it. But, and that's what we have when we have right here when Christ in the Circle 7 Koran is saying it's wrong to kill anything. It's wrong to kill any animal. Then he is not the same Christ. Well, of course, Christ is not the one in the book of Ezekiel. Of course, that's not the case. But it's funny, though. Everybody has their own name for the deity. I ain't going to read that part. The 7 spirits of the triune God. In chapter 11, verse 36, it said the 7 spirits, and that right there is in Revelations. So that right there, in the call, it was the same thing that was in Revelation. So it's quoting Revelations. You know, heaven is the state of mind. Okay. So it's going to be many different. What I really want to deal with in the future is the day and night issue. It's a good issue to deal with. And it's a consistent issue with our people. The fact that now I got one brother that I've talked to, because the late Elisa, man, this question is from the prophet. The section where it talks about the Passover dealing with day and night is cold-blooded. Because you know I love to say, well, the Day of Atonement starts the 9th day at evening. Look, from evening to evening. They love to bring it from evening to evening. You should celebrate your Sabbath. They love to bring that out and say the 9th day at evening is the beginning of the 10th day. But they say, yeah, well, can you say that the 14th day at evening is the beginning of the 15th day? You ask them that. The ones that believe the day starts at evening. Well, is the 14th day was the Passover at the same simultaneously exact time of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which starts the 15th day. They have to shake, they have to scratch their head. Because scriptures like Numbers 33:3, real quick. And they departed for Ramesses in the first month, in the 15th day of the first month, on the morrow after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with a high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. The morrow after the Passover, so they cannot be at the same time. And then, where is it? I need to open it up. I know it's in 2 Chronicles. I'm going to read 2 Chronicles. This right here just kills the game right here. This right here, this scripture right here is what made this one dude, because he was saying the day starts at evening. And I asked him the same question about Passover. Now he's saying that evening starts the moment after midday. When the sun starts to go down, that is evening to him. Because he had to stretch evening because of what this says right here. 2 Chronicles 35:14. And afterwards they made ready for themselves and for the priests, because the priests, the sons of Aaron, were busy in offering of the burnt offerings and the fat until night. Therefore the Levites prepared for themselves and for the priests and the sons of Aaron. The singers, the son of Asaph, were in their place according to the commandment of David. And Asaph and Heman and Jonathan, the king's seer, and the porter waited at every gate. They might not depart from their service. Their brethren, the Levites, prepared for them. So all the service of Yah was prepared the same day to keep the Passover and offer burnt offerings upon the altar of Yah, according to the commandments of King Josiah. So that same day, they prepared that same day to keep the Passover. They prepared on that same day, meaning that the 14th day at evening is not the beginning of the 15th day, because they prepared it on that same day. The same day they sacrificed the Passover is the same day they prepared it, the same day. So now he said, well, they can't. Well, what happened is, now he got the because obviously, how long is the evening? First he tried to stretch the evening to be about 3 hours. I think I told some of my brothers and sisters that he started stretching the evening to be about 3 hours. And then he had to. Well, so when it comes to the day and night issue, that's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed. Because it's time to give, what I'm saying, that's elementary. And I wish somebody would try to defend it. That's why next week that's going to be the topic. Even though, people say, oh, they're the same ones, but no, not really. Because, a lot of people like to philosophize, day and night and everything. I see it's supposed to be very simple when you talk about, well, it was dark before it was light. A lot of brothers say, oh, it was dark before it was light. I agree with them on that. I say, but complete darkness is not evening. So you had to cut on a light before you cut it off, or you have to have a morning before you have an evening. An evening transitional period. These both are transitional periods. Evening is not complete darkness. They say, well, complete dark. No, that's not. No. When they cut on the light, when they said, let there be light, that was morning first. That was cutting the light on first. Because in order to have even, you cut the light off. It should be that simple. You got to cut the light on before you cut it off. But when it comes to day and night, our people, it should be that simple. When you talk about evening or morning, which one has to come first? That should be one of those questions. That's what I'm saying. That should be one of them questions that people have for IQ. That should be an IQ question. Seriously. But if no one, I got people hitting me up. So we also going to have different questions on the Sabbath and stuff like that. But one thing that I do want to make stress the importance of is engaging, and being respectful towards our people. And, we have to learn, especially if, you want to be officials and hunter, you want to actually bring your people from out of falsehood, out of darkness. You got to know how to approach them. Of course, me on this show, I don't spare no. I ain't trying to be all like, people say I may be condescending or something like that, but it's not. This is not a show for them. It's a show for brothers and sisters to pull the people out of it. So, it's a way to approach people. Me personally, when I talk to people on the street, I don't approach them like a Muslim, like, oh, you wash up with dirt and you do this. No, you know what I'm saying? Not at all. But I find a way to bring it out. I find a way, even if I have to show my ignorance. Like, man, you know what? But somebody showed me this. And somebody did show me that. Like, somebody showed me this, man. And I was like, no, I can never be a Muslim because of this. Could you please explain this, brother? So it is a certain way of engaging our people. So, but it also is a good thing too. A lot of people say, "Well, I don't want to talk to none of these brothers. I don't trust none of them. This and that." You know what I mean? That's not the love the Almighty talked about. We said loving your own people. You have to love your own people. You know, we in this together. We in this together. We got in captivity because we broke the Almighty's commandments together. We in this all this. So we need to reach out to our people. We see our people got something on their mind. We know our people don't like to hear nothing conscious. So when you see a brother and he look like he got some consciousness, you know what I'm saying, ask the brother, man, what's up, man? You look like you can spread some knowledge, drop some knowledge on me real quick. You know what I'm saying? You like you got some knowledge, man, just drop it on me real quick, man. What's up? What you got? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Give me the good word. What's the good word, man? What's up? I mean, holler at your brothers and sisters. For real. You know what I'm saying? Tell them about these laws and commandments. That's what righteousness is. That's how we are all going to be able to unite. Because we're going to all not be tail-bearing against each other, loving each other. You got to tell you about the Almighty's laws and how beneficial they are. So we got to reach out to our people, for real. You don't have to be like that, especially if a brother look like he got something on his mind and he's got some knowledge. You can always, you know what I'm saying, what's up with the knowledge, and just like that, you know what I mean, always on a positive note. You know what I'm saying? Because even on a positive note, listen, I done came to some brothers, you know what I'm saying, of course you can't talk about sodomites in public and, and politics and stuff. But when you talking to a brother on an intellectual level, you can intellectually disagree with him. Like, no, and I'm not for that fact. And it's good to hear the other brothers and sisters is still holding on to some more to say that's wrong. It's wrong to do that. It's wrong. I say, yeah, that's the Almighty laws. That's the laws, brother. That's all the laws tell you what's wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, reach out to the brothers and sisters. That's what the fishes and hunters, that's what we should be doing. We should be trying to get our people up out this wickedness, this more science wickedness. There was no hatred towards the brothers. I wish I could bump into one of them brothers now. You know what I'm saying? After definitely reading their book, I can definitely engage them brothers and show them the laws and commandments of the mighty Yahweh. I'll give all praise to the mighty Yahweh for this show. Thanks, brothers, for listening, brothers and sisters. Shalom.
Close their eyes so they see but can't perceive. Ears head can't understand this way he commanded. But two from a fam, one from the city. Some heads a turn like the penny. From the Most High, evidently we forgot our history. Recognize truth, but the youth won't respect me. Cause knowledge from a poor man's despised and rejected. But we'll believe a lie in a second. Our kind is the prize they devise an invention while minds self-destruct like a bomb we forgetting. When lies in our time, we subconsciously step it. Our lives is a sign, but sublimes our perception. It's time we demise our direction, but only by divine intervention. From Yah will arise for progression. And ever since my youth honed up, they say life's about choices. You'll learn when you choose most stuff. Plus our brothers land slain to the other man's game. In a coma, we just understand pain. And don't care if somebody's lower than mud. Till you at the wake and see somebody close to your blood. Got the letters that you saved on how to make a slave as it is still today. Separate the old from the young, mixing your race to weaken our kind. Lead a body, take a mind. X off the man so the woman in the seed. Depend on you for everything that they need. Indeed, if he consider, never try to escape. But here's the birth of a new face.